I'm a visual artist. I just say when I speak, I'm a visual artist. And I wouldn't want to box myself. So I am a feminist artist. I am a social artist. I am an activist artist, you know. As an artist, I'm not like at a distance from anything that is happening, because I walk around the city and I'm inspired. I walk in Joburg, I'm inspired, until you see people running or rushing to something, and then you become aware, oh, I'm still on the streets. I'm still, am I in a safe space where I am right now? But at the same time, I'm drawn to the colors. You know, everything that is happening for me is fascinating. So how do you share your identity in a way that is not, you're not apologizing for it? You know, you're also writing from a space of telling your own story, and knowing that your story is always connected to a bigger community, so you're never representing yourself alone. Growing up in Mthatha mainly, our neighborhood was very small. Buka Park, we call it. It's very small neighborhood, but also within a bigger townships or connected townships, which is Ikwezi and Ngangelizwe and Buka Extension. So growing up there, I can say it was a normal childhood in terms of us playing with our neighbors on the streets every day. You know, also, I'm just connecting it with the work that I just did, Unokolide, where I was thinking about those moments when we're playing with each other and our relationships as neighbors. And also, I was focusing on beauty contests, the artworks that I'm busy with. Beauty contest at a time when the first black female won Miss South Africa, and then she went to be, I think, first princess at Miss Universe. So just at that time, there was a lot of beauty contests taking place around our neighborhoods, and I was drawing inspiration from that. And also music. There's a lot of music at the time, Boom Shaka, Kwaito, more especially, so we had dance groups. So it was a normal childhood, even at home. Yeah. Began with the sheepskin when I was in undergrad. So we were asked to bring photographs from our family photo albums, and also just objects that connected us to where we come from. And from that project, it was mainly to find a signature or a story that you'll have in relation to your artworks. So at the time, I didn't want to bring my photo album. I was not even interested in painting portraits. And yeah, for a while, I stalled and didn't submit anything until I went home to Sugarbush. In my village, and then I started going around collecting objects with my cousin, and then I saw goat skin that was at home. It was slaughted for me when I just, it was for a ritual, you know, when you're moving from being a girl to a woman. So, and then I asked to take that, and my mom refused, and I asked why, and she did not have an answer me in a way. And so my mom was like, maybe it would be better to collect sheepskin because there's so much, there's a lot traditionally that is done in relation to goats, to a goat. So I wouldn't find anyone letting go of goat skin because of the intimate rituals that happen when there's a goat involved. So that's when I collected sheepskin and started documenting photographs of sheep in the kraal. And also what I found to be interesting at the time, I was allowed to go inside the kraal, whereas for the longest time as a young girl, we were not allowed to go in the kraal because we were females, only to find out if it's your home, then you can go into a kraal. I went away to study for 3 years. I did my honors at UCT, and then I did my master's at Rhodes University. I didn't paint during that time. I picked up beadwork. So that's when I started doing a lot of beads. Even that, it was sort of connecting to this idea of culture, but also I just loved the material itself. And I would go to the library and take out books and practice these different techniques. At the same time, I was learning about these different cultures in terms of the colors that are being used and the techniques from which culture are they coming from within South Africa and also globally, I mean, within Africa as a whole. So yeah, with the paintings, I then, when I came back to Pretoria, the idea of the album came through when I won the Absa L'Atelier, and I went to Paris for my residency, 3 months there. I saw a lot of history being preserved, a lot of, I mean, their culture being preserved, like small things. You think you're passing a statue or a sculpture only to find out it's a monument of somebody, it's a memorabilia. People come to have a ceremony there in a way. And then I started reflecting more, but my family photo album was the main object that I had in mind, and not knowing even where it was in the home, because sometimes you forget about photo albums altogether. So I went through storage boxes that I have, and I did find my old family photo album. And when I found it, I thought it did have images inside, and then when I opened it, it didn't. But from there on, it brought a lot of memories. Looking at its condition, because it wasn't in a good condition. It had traces and residues like scuff marks, almost like coffee stains, and also it had like traces of where the photographs were. Even that idea of seeing the shape of a photograph on sometimes even overlapping, which means we're always curating it, so we're always moving photographs around. And at that time, that's when I decided I'll work from these memories that I evoked by the photo album. And I didn't even ask questions from my parents in terms of who bought the album, and why who bought the photo album, when was it bought, and all those things. So I just worked with the object as it was. And then I used those memories and what was evoked in the artworks themselves. I think I'm already tapping into those relationships. I call them hierarchies or family structures or community structures that have hierarchies. And those are based on gender and gender inequality, and also performance, because we perform even within these spaces that we call home. there's a role that a father performs, a mother performs, a child performs. So I've already tapped into that through another project because I'm in a residency with the Geneva project, which is based on gender violence, looking at gender violence study between Sentin and Alexandra. So it's a comparison study that the University of Joburg is doing. And from that, with that project, the researchers had done interviews with people in Alex and Sentin, and I came in as somebody who's going to interpret those through my artworks. And at the time, I thought, let me start with my own story or my own experiences with gender violence before I speak about another person, in a way. So I started with my home, more especially looking at those family structures or family hierarchies, and also looking at the role of my father, my mom, and myself, my brother, and also extended family that come through, and relationships and how we interact with one another, but also elements of silence and secrecy in how we navigate our small spaces, and how I've been affected in a way to say it's not to re-traumatize because for instance on the news we are constantly, especially now, we are constantly watching news and we are told who died and how they died, how they were mutilated, femicides, and all these other traumatic and horrific ways in which female bodies are discarded, I can say that. But there are so many underlying issues that can prevent that from happening. And I think that's where my work comes in. The trigger points that we ignore more, because I remember a recent incident going to Joburg to buy beads, and there was this couple in a car, and the guy was beating the girl like he was strangling her, and the girl was fighting back, and then she was hitting him, and then we called the police. I just arrived there, and there was a lady who was insisting on the owner calling the police, and she was like, no, the security, because it's Melville, they have security there, so they are coming. So we just stood and waited, and the owner, a male, the owner of the shop, he was irritated at this point because the incident, what is happening in that car is none of our business, and it's disturbing his customers. So, and until something traumatic happens, and that's when we react and say no to gender-based violence, whereas it is in small incidents that are not small at the same time, that happen every single day, catcalling on the streets when you don't answer. I mean, that's a problem on its own. So, so yeah, my work is mainly highlighting the underlying issues that we seem to that we do ignore. Yeah. These two artworks where I am reflecting on the news and sites where a body has been found, where there's been a femicide. So as much as they say the pictures, the images will be sensitive to the viewer, I always, in my mind, I'm always thinking about that site, where a body has been found. So it brings something to the imagination, because you're also connected as a female. I don't know, it can be you, it can be your friend, it can be anybody. That's what it means. So I created these 2 artworks, sculptural works, using old blankets and jewelry pieces on them. And they look beautiful. And the viewers did say as well, like, they're so beautiful, they're so fascinated by them, like they're drawn to them when they walked into that room. And then when I explained them that they're actually those sites of violence, or where a body has been burnt even, they're the remains, At the same time, when a jewelry piece is found, or a piece of cloth is found, it brings relief for the family, relief that a body has been found. It is their daughter. While at the same time they're grieving, it's a relief, but they're grieving, because even just thinking about it, yeah. So you're reminding me with the beadworks at the Cape Town Art Fair, this one artist who also uses beads, he came to me and asked me, why am I mixing particular colors together? And I told him I don't want to know that. I just do. Because once I do the research, it will take away from all of that is within me. Yeah.
Now that I listen to you, I mean, if I look at that white beadwork with the red, I mean, to me now, I look at that different. To me, that's like the purity, and that's a part of the menstruation. To me, now. But before, it wasn't like that. But now it's loaded.
It is actually menstruation.
What is it? Where are you when you paint?
I don't know where I am when I paint. Because the first 30 minutes, it's me approaching the canvas and saying, I need to paint. I need to go and work. And then, after that 30 minutes, it's just, me in the artworks. And then to a point where I have to remind myself to move back sometimes. And look at it, and sometimes I think I'm done for that day, but there's more that wants to bring me back to it and continue. So I just let those moments be. So I don't know where I am, because even when an artwork is finished and I sit and look at it, sometimes it can take an hour of me just sitting and looking at it myself, and almost like I'm looking at another person's artwork. So,
but in a way, you're looking at yourself, no?
I met Mona in 2020. She collected 3 artworks from that exhibition. And one of the artworks, the title has a date. It's 3/10/1981, which is the date, the only date that was on the family photo album. So it was the works, one of the artworks, 2 artworks that were the last artworks I did for that show. So I always think of the last artworks as the beginning of the creative process, but it's when I stop at the same time. I really appreciate her collecting that work. It means that different audiences get to experience the artworks and be exposed to what I have to offer as an artist, as a visual artist. And it's just the beginning of something beautiful that I know is yet to come out of myself, yeah.